Yeah. Let's see what's going on here. Dennis, can you hear me? He's not on yet. Oh, I'm early. Dennis isn't on yet. We're going to have some background noise, by the way, because of the power washing our units, and there's nowhere to go in our small area. Hey, Dennis.
Hi
Can you
there.
hear me?
I hear you fine.
All right, good. I guess we could. Okay, I would start really soon because it's not quite 10, and I'm watching somebody try to park their car. I'm going to see if they're taking out my side view mirror. I got a good view of it right now. So.
Priority.
Hang on. Just hang on a second.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, yeah. I'm going to turn it up just a bit.
All right.
Yeah, that's good. Try to say something intelligent.
4, 5, 7, 8, and born to run 50 years.
You got it. Good job. They can't park. This is awesome. I love it. Hey, I need a job.
The little pleasures in life, the little joy.
Oh, they left. They left completely. That's all.
Even better.
They're defeated by parking space. It's amazing. Okay. Hey, I guess it is now close enough for 10 o'clock. I think we could start. You know?
Okay.
So my name is Bryan Mootz, and today's date, I believe, is the 6th of August, correct?
Right.
You got it.
2025.
Yeah, you got 2025. And I want to start off really easy. What's your name and where do you live?
I'm Dennis Mitchell, and I live in Carpinteria, California.
And how did you end up here?
By sheer luck and a series of miracles. It's a very long story, but the short version is I moved out to the coast 10 years ago to accept a job at a radio station in Santa Barbara.
Can we name that radio station?
It was KTYD, K-Tide,
Right.
and was very lucky to get the job and did a great job while I was there. And I lived in a condo bedroom in Santa Barbara for 5 years during that time, and naturally was looking to get out of that since I had moved from a 2,000 square foot house in Las Vegas, and it was very, very cramped. And when the pandemic came and my situation became such that I was able to move out, I started looking around and I saw nothing but scams, and Craigslist just became a daily depression of, like I said, scams, overpriced places.
Well, so when you said scams, I'm just kind of curious, were they places that did not fit the description, or once you got there, the guy raised the rate, the rent like 400%. So you answered an ad at $1,500 a month, and he goes, it's actually $2,400 a month, or was it like that?
No, nothing like that. But there were more than I can count places that were not for rent, that were put up as being for rent.
Interesting.
It's the most frustrating of all, because you would go look at this place, go, wow, this is really great. The price sounds great. This is a totally bogus ad. They're trying to get your information when you would respond to it. So I threw up my hands in disgust and said, I'm just not doing this anymore. I'll just wait until something comes along and just hope my luck changes. The very next day after I made that declaration, my dear friend Melinda Bai called me from out here on the east end of Carpinteria and said, our guest house is open. And so it was a bit of a coincidental miracle there. And I said, yes. It doubled my rent, but I didn't care. I really, really did want to live in Carpinteria because I'd had a bit of a history here. And just, you can't help but fall in love with this place when you come here. So jumped at the chance. Here we are 4 years later, and I'm still in this nice, beautiful little bungalow.
Yeah, and I've been there. Can you tell us what it's like, your bungalow?
Well, it sits. Let's take a little walk, shall we?
Okay, I'm up for that.
On the edge of the east end of Carpinteria, up on the hill above Highway 150, and I'm going to take you outside now to show you why I'm probably the luckiest man in the world, and that's because this is my view.
Wow, that's nice.
Not bad at all, and the Channel Islands are visible most days, and lots of wildlife out here. There's lots of hummingbirds. You see a snake once in a while. There's skunks and rabbits and all kinds of rodents around. So it's quite rural, but like I said, I have a nice little house to enjoy it all from, and it's served me well both personally and professionally, because I converted the house, most of it, into a radio studio.
And we want to get to the radio aspect of your life because that took up a majority of your life being in radio, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Years.
Yeah. How many years?
50 going on 55, on and off. Now I can say mostly on.
Yeah, ran on, right on. Hey, where were you born? And what, if you want to tell us what year?
I was born in Topeka, Kansas on March 30th, 1954.
Oh, right on.
I was an Air Force brat, and my
Oh,
dad
okay.
happened to be stationed in that area at the time. And from there, we moved on to like places like Texas. Lots of things I don't remember because I was too little.
But
And while
didn't you live quite a few years in Riverside?
Yeah, I was going to say we wound up in Central California at first when my dad was stationed at Castle Air Force Base. Then he got stationed to March Air Force Base just outside of Riverside. And so he and my mom snatched up a house that wasn't base housing. It was in a residential area. Things were just so idyllic back then. So they got a 4-bedroom house with a den for like $13,000. And this was in 1963.
Yeah, you
So
can't
yeah,
buy a car. You can't buy a car for 13,000.
no, you can't. If you use car, you'd be lucky. So yeah, and I spent all of my childhood there in that area of Riverside near Van Buren Boulevard, and yeah, yeah. So I started in Topeka, but wound up in California.
You know, in Riverside, I think if you don't live there, you know, we have a certain attitude about a certain perspective. Tell us about two things about Riverside that you miss.
Well, my mom, first of all,
Uh,
my mom and dad lived there for 60 years, and my mom just passed away recently, and that was the last vestige of my childhood. Mom was the focal point. Mom was where we went to all get together and touch base with our lives and everything. And having that piece of the puzzle missing is huge. I'm still kind of dealing with that.
I'm sorry to hear that.
That's one thing I really miss about Riverside. But you know, when you were a kid and you could just get on your bike and ride up the dirt trails unsupervised, and explore at your own will. You know, I guess I could say I miss my youth in Riverside. I don't miss the town all that much. It's really not what it used to be, what town is. But I miss those days in Riverside for sure, and all of my friends, and just goofing around as a kid and going to school and all that stuff. So I kind of miss that about Riverside.
And now, obviously, we talked about you being in radio. I mean, like a lot of people, when they're 8 years old, they want to be a fireman. When did you know you want to be in radio?
When I was 9 years old. Pretty much. You know, after seeing the Beatles on TV, that changed everything for everybody. And I had been listening to the radio a lot anyway. My dad would take me out on hunting trips and various journeys he would take, and he always had the AM radio on in the car. So I was influenced very early on by what it meant to have a hit record, what a hit record sounded like, why it was a hit record, because you just kept going around in your brain and you liked it, made you feel good. So that's the very early root of it. And once the Beatles happened and radio caught fire in terms of competition as to who would have the better Beatles stories and who covered the Beatles better, this was such an engrossing and captivating thing. I just wanted to be a part of it however I could. So
Right.
at a very early age, I knew, you know, from listening to transistor radio on my paper route and all of this stuff, I was never without a radio. And so it seemed like a natural. I didn't know if I'd ever be good enough, but I really did want to do it.
What was your first job in radio?
Wasn't really a job. I was in high school and they had a radio club, Ramcom, it was called. Went to Ramona High School, and um, we got to go to a radio station once a week. The club did, and put on a show for a half hour, a real radio station. So this was a thrill. That got us completely hooked. And you know, and there were other ways that this happened. When people at the when the DJs at the local radio station Riverside would go out and do a remote somewhere, hey, come and see us, and there they were in their gold blazers, handing out free records and stuff. Oh, the addiction was very, very deep. So that from there, I went to college at San Bernardino Valley College, and I was on KBCR TV and radio. Did play-by-play basketball and football and baseball, and hosted a couple of rock shows, one with another guy and one by myself. So that was kind of a job. But my first actual job that I got a paycheck for was
Yeah.
watching a transmitter up on a hill in San Bernardino for a station. It was this horrible. It was a little cinder block building that was no bigger than this living room, and it had a big transmitter in it. And my job was to stay there all night and every hour take the readings from the transmitter. So less than glamorous, but it was
Right.
my paycheck. And from there, life kind of happened, and I had to set radio aside because I needed jobs and stuff. And so I had jobs that I never really enjoyed. And the career happened when I moved out to Las Vegas in 1979. And that
What
was
took
for,
you to Vegas?
what's that?
What took you to Vegas?
I had a friend living down there, a couple of friends actually. And I had been up in the Bay Area with my girlfriend at the time. And that just became untenable because you can't afford to live there no matter what, even back in 1978 and 79. So headed out to Las Vegas, secured a place, and then she came and joined me later. And I got a job fixing alarm systems, which is something I had done. But immediately, it was the first time in my life I had had the mindset to get a part-time job to go with my full-time job. So immediately that was going to be radio. And I didn't know much. I didn't have all that much experience, just the college and high school thing. So I got a job, also not so glamorous, changing out the tapes on a soft music radio station. Once a tape ends, you have to put the other one on and start it at the
The
right
old
time.
school.
Yeah, yeah. I never got to talk on the microphone for the first year or two, and then weaseled my way over to a morning show where I had a lot of fun, and then I was hired away to be the news director at the town's all news radio station in Las Vegas. So it was a pretty big deal. So these were among my first jobs, and the news job was massive because it was in 1984, and my first baptism of fire, as far as corresponding with major networks and doing major news coverage, was the hotel workers' strike, and the bartenders and musicians and everybody who was on strike in Las Vegas. And boy, did I learn a lot about how unions work, about PR, and about news coverage of these kinds of things. It was a priceless experience. And
I'm sorry to bother you, but I have to ask, what was one of the lessons you learned from that
uh,
experience?
uh, how brutal these things are. The bigger, the more brutal. And the hotel casinos were at a crucial point, they felt, to the point they wanted to like fire musicians and go with canned music in the auditoriums and the showrooms. Well, that was a negative. Um, everybody, my experience with Vegas, especially up to that point, had been that the town's nothing without the service personnel and your bartenders and your room cleaners, and they didn't want to give them more money. And the way that each side released information was a true lesson to learn too. Because as a journalist, you just don't take things on face value. You take what they said and you check the facts to see if it's correct. If it's not, you call them out on it. If it is, then you can go with the story. These are the things I learned. I had a news background to begin with. Did a lot of news coverage in the college days and stuff. Um, so it came kind of naturally. But like I said, the learning experience was really more life things than how to report it. But they were kind of intertwined, really, and battles between management and workers, that kind of thing, things that go on to this day.
Right. And because of that experience, do you look at news today with a jaded eye?
Big time. It's like we lost the battle a long time ago. These big news outfits that you used to trust to some degree and know that you were getting somewhat reliable information have sold out. And they deliberately don't tell you things. And it's more of a showbiz. It's way more entertainment than it is news now. And people look back fondly on Walter Cronkite and Huntley Brinkley and the Bill Moyer and these people because they trusted them, and they would bring you the news even when it was unpleasant for them to do so. They don't do that now. They fake all of that, and it's all agenda. I don't know what's the word. There's an agenda for all of it, and it becomes to where you can't trust it. You get more accurate news and reliable news from social media, which is pathetic. That means that the people running these so-called journalistic empires have just given up.
Right.
Because you can take what they say a lot of the times and go verify it, like I mentioned in the earlier example, and find out they're just not telling you the truth at all, or that they're leaving huge chunks of stories out to meet whatever their owner's agenda is. So, not to get too political, but no, the local news, I mean, not the local news, the national news sources, the mainstream media really let us down, really not a place to go for news these days.
Well, on kind of the same subject, different subject, you've I'd like to have you describe some of the maybe memorable aspects, events in your life. Do us 2, 3, including your fascination with and historical knowledge of the Beatles.
Oh, wow. So what's the question?
So you take 3 memorable events in your life, 4, and one of them are the Beatles. What would they be?
Oh, well, seeing him on Ed Sullivan, and I've told the story many times, I missed that first week because my dad would not have any part of the Beatles in our house. So the following week, I snuck over next door to the cool kids' house, and on some pretense that we were going to play some board game or something, and that was where I first got to see the Beatles, and it was life changing. And even more life changing was when I would go over there. They had turntables, and they played the records, and that's where it really broke through, when you could hear the whole songs in sequence and take each one individually. Yeah, it was extremely life changing for me, and I not too ashamed to say I learned about everything there is to know that I know from Beatles music and Beatles records. This was a terrible thing when it came to romance and relationships. Uh,
And why is that?
well, because it's all so boy girl fairy tale-ish, and but you put your heart and soul into, wow, that's really, that's a thing, and too many people will go on and try to live their lives that way,
Right.
but it doesn't work that way. But those melodies and everything were just so intoxicating and so perfect, and still are. And so, yeah, discovering the Beatles was huge, and became a huge part of my life later on when I got into rock radio, which is another story. When I was doing the news in Vegas, I was approached by the leading classic rock station in town and asked if I wanted to do news with their morning show. Wow, that beats the hell out of, pounding the beat in the newsroom each day and ripping wire copy and going out and interviewing people. I mean, I enjoyed all of that stuff, but wow, this was a way more cush gig. So I said yes, and did really well with it. And that went on for a couple of years, and then the program director approached me and said, you know, we've been running this breakfast with the Beatles on Sundays, and it's a list of songs. And there was a real cool guy, a friend of mine, he's gone now, named Jeff Anderson, who was narrating it, but not doing like in-depth stuff that I wound up doing. And he asked if I would do the show, and that was the rest, as they say. I tore into that job and rediscovered all of my Beatles records, because I really hadn't been playing them all that much up to that time. This was in 1989. And so relearned everything, put on a killer 1 hour show each week about the Beatles, and grew it from there. So, yeah.
And you're still doing that, right?
Huh?
You're still doing it. The Breakfast with the Beatles. Are you still doing it?
The Beatles, yeah, it has a long and storied history, and it's about to come to an end on one level. It's been syndicated to about 50 radio stations around the world, and I'm ending that end of it because it's so much work, and I have other things to do. But I'm going to still do a 1 hour breakfast with the Beatles on Carpinteria Valley Radio, the station that you're a part of as well. And that's going to start September 7th. And I'm really looking forward to it because it's less pressure. I can once again have fun playing Beatles records and sharing information about them. Be a little more of a smile on my face because it'll be a little less of a grind. So yeah, I'm still doing the show. It'll be 35 years in January.
So
And,
what brings you more? What brings you more enjoyment, the Beatles or the birth of your son?
that's not fair. I love my boy. He was born in 1988, and that was also that's among the four things for sure. I don't know if I have two others. Moving here to Carpinteria, that has been life changing for sure. And boy, that fourth one's elusive. I really don't know. But that's it in a nutshell.
Right.
The Beatles, my radio career, and moving here have shaped me into what I am today, whatever that is.
What if you had a? I know you mentioned your father and hunting. I mean, what's one of your fondest memories? If it doesn't bring up any heartbreak, what's your fondest memories of your father?
Well, that's a good one. We had a lot of good times together when I was a little kid. Things became a lot more strained later on. He was called to Vietnam. He did 2 tours of duty in Vietnam and one in Guam that took him away for 6 months. So during the formative and teen years, he was not there a lot of the time, and that made things rather difficult. But when he got back, um, he came to every one of my high school basketball games with me. Sports was our bonding thing. We really did not have a super relationship, but sports totally bonded, and comics in the newspaper. We bonded over just peculiar little things that appealed to us, made us laugh and smile, whatever. So yeah, looking back, I'd have to focus on those things that we had in common. There weren't very many, but we were real strong on them when we did.
I think sports and are usually a lot of times the bonding issues for a lot of boys and their dads.
Yeah.
It's where you can be yourself in a lot of ways. You try to, either you do well or you don't. Hopefully, your father will support you in any way in
It's
that.
all something in common. I have the same thing with my son. We bond over sports big time, and it's practically the same thing, except my son's a weird savant who knows everything about every team all the time. I was never that way. I
Right.
just like watching the sport and appreciating the sport, rooting for a team, that kind of thing on the very base level. But yeah, that's been a constant, I guess.
And you have a grandson, right?
Yeah, his name's Kelton. He's 10 years old. He's beautiful. He's going to be a world leader someday.
Awesome.
I hope, because God, we need one. And I'm in touch with him frequently through Facebook Messenger and whatnot. And he comes out to visit the coast occasionally. He loves the beach. He loves Carpinteria, and I'm looking forward to seeing him again at the beginning of October.
Again, we don't live there and maybe not have gone there too much. How has Vegas changed?
Well, sadly, not for the better. And I'm not the only one saying it now. I know you and I, it's a running thing with you and I. I'm not fond of the place because I moved there when it was fun. And mom and pop from Iowa were bringing their buckets of quarters, and locals were treated like gold, and parking was free everywhere. Now, all of that is the opposite now. In other words, I got there when it was fun, and I left because it became no fun and, frankly, unfriendly and dangerous. There's horror stories every day about people, getting run over on the curb while walking to the store, people getting shot randomly. The town despises homeless people. It just keeps doing things that are bigger, but not necessarily better. So that's like I said, I'm not a friend of Vegas. Wasn't a friend to me. But and now, like I said, now this year, I'm sure you're aware, we're seeing the tourist numbers are plummeting
Yes.
because they gouge everybody for everything. Everything is overpriced, and they just expect you to pay it. And their attitude seems to be they don't care how many people come, just how much money are you bringing with you. So
Right.
I could go on, but yeah, we had a falling out. I like to say Vegas and I outgrew each other.
Any events in the world that you've experienced, and you've been able to experience quite a few that changed you or made you sit down and reflect about the direction of your life?
That happened to me.
Like the 9/11 or something
Oh,
like that. Any kind of world event that you said, "Wow," and made you kind of reflect on how you're living.
well, 9/11 did that for all of us, didn't it?
It
Um,
should.
Extremely sobering, and really, it remains kind of an unresolved issue because of the aftermath and the fallout that was most destructive and not productive. It was as though we refused to learn from it, and things just got progressively worse around the world till we're at the point we are today. So 9/11, like I said, that was something that caused all of us to reflect on that. As far as other world events, well, Vietnam was another one that kind of, over time, I didn't realize what was going on at the time, just that my dad was gone and had to be over there. But I've looked back on it at the time, and it's like it's just a bad pattern of doing bad things, and then moving on to the next bad thing. So that's been a learning experience too. Not, you can't always take things at face value. Um, but I'm trying to think of there. Oh yeah, and then the murder of John Lennon. Just showed how insanely insensitive humans can be. You know, a particular human being in this case. It's like,
Right.
God, if that can happen. And this was just before Reagan was about to take office. So it was a very gloomy, ominous, scary time. And what that did was help me rededicate myself to what John taught me. Because really, the Imagine album is probably one of the top 2 or 3 albums of my whole life in terms of what it taught me and my politics and how we should live our lives and how to make the world a better place. It's all in that album.
Right.
So I rededicated myself to all of that after John was killed. So that was definitely an earth-shaking, life-changing event.
You know, we're talking. You've been in radio for a while, but you still are. How has it changed? When I say how has it changed, how has technology changed in radio, and what's a good and bad side of that technology?
The technology's changed in a very good way in that everybody has a computer. I mean, maybe 30 years ago we could not have foreseen the massiveness of the computer takeover and everybody having one. So the technology involved is radio can now be streamed over your computer. This makes radio accessible to millions and millions more people than just people who have radios. So the style of radio and even the radio stations you do listen to in your car or in your house are being streamed into your computer now. So you have this wild potential for a grand expansion of the way radio works and everything. But instead, the Telecom Act came along in 1996. This is aside from the technology, really, this really doesn't even have that much to do with that. But that ruined radio in allowing corporations, equity firms, whoever, to own as many radio stations as they wanted to, instead of there being a limit in each market, which worked well for years and years and years. But it was handed over to the free market. And from there, thousands and thousands of people like me were fired and replaced with plug-in shows that were cheaper to run and not as good and not as local. It was a grand deterioration that started in 1996 and just got worse and worse and worse. And when Howard Stern came along, thousands of morning shows were fired because this was the first advent of a syndicated show being on music stations in the morning. And Howard, great talent, nothing against him, but the practice of how that happened cost thousands of people their jobs. So technologically, massive advances that should have put radio way up here, but instead this Telecom Act came along, cheapened the product to the point that people were actually willing to pay for radio. I still don't believe there's any radio in the world worth paying for, but here you have Sirius XM, another thing that detracted away from regular radio. So to answer your question, the technology is unbelievable, but it's lost a lot of its audience because of the Telecom Act.
And I'm going to assume you don't feel AI is helping.
Not at all. That's just more lost jobs, which is basically the purpose of AI. And so very little of it is worthwhile yet. It's still very new, as we know. But anything that replaces a human, I'm not going to be for it, unless it's better. And this definitely is not. So, a thinking, feeling human being that you can maybe relate to is going to beat a robot any day. Any day.
Right.
You know?
So now you hate life, let's say, and you're fed up, and you found a desert island that you have a continuous source of beer and smash burgers, but you need and you got one trip out there. What book, movie, and album would you take with you?
Oh, wow. Oh, well, one album, really?
Yeah, sorry.
Bryan. I mean, really.
Okay, 3 albums. What movie, book, and 3 albums would you take with you?
Sgt. Pepper, Born to Run, and Imagine.
Okay.
Yeah, probably those 3. Sgt. Pepper is iffy, and that may sound like heresy, but I've heard it so many times. I really have to give that third one a lot of thought. And what movie? Wow, Pulp Fiction. I think I enjoy watching that. I'll never get tired of watching that movie. There are several others.
I know.
And what book?
Yeah.
On the Road, Jack Kerouac.
Oh, good choice.
Yeah, easily. I could read that read that to the day I die, and it'll be entertaining on every single page.
I can't argue with that one, or the movie. The
Yeah.
albums, maybe.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
so
very personal.
you know, as have you gone through now life, what do you think you're better at than a lot of people, and what do you think you see other people that are better at doing something than you? So what's your strong suit?
Producing radio shows. I love doing it so much, and I take no more pride than a perfectly done show that will connect with somebody and they listen and they appreciate what I've put into it and maybe learn something from it. So producing a quality radio show means more to me than anything. I think that's what that was I was born to do. Um, and God, so many people do so many things better than me. You're one of them, as
I
far as
know.
how you deal with the, yeah, I see, uh, because you're so easy to work with, and people, yeah, I strive to be nice to everybody, and it's easier for some folks than others, and you're just so nice to everybody. Um, so I don't know where I'm going with that, but there are people who do radio shows better than me. There are people that do a world of things better than me. So that's a very hard question to answer. I'm appreciative of getting to know people who are better at so many things than me, and Carpinteria is just full of them.
Yeah, it's a great town.
Yeah.
If you can, I'm not taking up too much time, but I think a lot of us would like to know, when you say produce, what goes into producing a show?
Well, first you have to have the idea for the show, and if that's already in place, uh, it helps to have a framework to communicate what you're trying to get across. Breakfast with the Beatles, as an example, the first job is picking out the songs I'm gonna highlight and play. The second is writing out some notes about the songs you just heard and all of that stuff. Um, and then recording my voice and recording the songs and putting it all together in an what do you call it, multi-track mix. That's producing a show, taking all of the elements, putting them together, and making it a capsulized thing. Whether you're live on the air or not, same goes if you're live, you're actually producing your show as you go along. But in a produced canned show that's handed out to stations and whatnot, that's the process. Get the songs, do your voice, put it all together, and make it sound palatable. And then that's producing a show. And I read a thing fairly recently about how different that is from movie producing. A producer in a movie has a specific role, but a producer for a record, for a band or an artist, or for a radio show, it's a totally different ball of wax. You're kind of the director at the same time as you're the producer, so it's very different than movie language.
I'm just going to say we have landscapers here, so you'll be hearing their, I'm not sure
I,
what that is, or cutting hedges, so sorry.
no, I
Uh,
don't hear.
you've been involved with music for years and years, decades, and where do you see music today? How do you think of music today?
Well, leaves a lot to be desired.
And
Um, and I'm spoiled rotten. I came through the Beatles, and I told you this story and everybody else that 16 years old, my son came out of his bedroom one day, and I was working at producing a show. He said, this is just not fair. You guys got the Beatles. And I felt so chuffed. I felt so good about that. But on the other hand, and it's something we've discussed before, it's like, what music will be here in 50 years? Very little of what is around right now, I don't think. Although 50 years maybe isn't such a good barometer because of how long people live and what their memories are like. So
right.
there will be a fondness of the golden age of Eminem and Beyonce and all that, But really, it's the Beatles. It's the freaking Beatles. We wouldn't have the music we have today without them. I even see articles now popping up saying, well, if they hadn't happened, who would be big? That's how desperate people are to want to know, when you can't even imagine a world without them because they changed so much. So the evolution has just fed upon itself over these years to where I can't even imagine. It's beyond comprehension what music would sound like today if they hadn't come along. 4-4 time experimenting with music, the way songs are structured and built and written, all came from them. As far as if you want to hit. Now, there are people that do other things and don't care if they have a hit, and bless them and good for them. Look at Brian Eno. He couldn't care less about a hit record at this point in his career, but look at the wonderful stuff he keeps producing. So, to me, it's like what I hear are Beatles derivatives, because that's all there is, and some are way better than others. That would be how I describe music today.
So you're not only on a desert island with the book, the movie, and all the beer and albums that you like, and all the beer and smash burgers, but you also have become omnipotent, powerful when it comes to changing music today. And you have one change to make the music to make it better. What would that change be?
Way more protest songs, way more songs about what's going on in the world and what we should be doing to change it, instead of so much that doesn't have anything at all to do with that. Yes, it's nice to escape. It's nice to have fantasy. It's nice to have novelty records. But there is a shocking lack of social commentary in music these days. It's a few fringe artists. I hate to even call them that, because they're coming into the mainstream because they're brave enough to state their views and whatnot. But yeah, way more about what's going on in the world accurately, and maybe just a little bit less dressing up.
Right. So, you've been here a few years on the planet. If you could impart some lessons to other people, what would one of your lessons be that you think could help other people?
Oh, that I've learned that it took me a long time. It doesn't mean that I do these things. But be nice to people. Try to understand that you don't understand what somebody has been through, and this comes through in driving all the time. It's like you get so mad at somebody in front of something you don't know the day they've had. Show some compassion. Live by the freaking golden rule. It's really not that hard to do. If you're screwing with somebody, imagine you being on the other end of it. So that's number one. Live by the golden rule. Yeah, it sounds corny just to even call it that. But treating others like you'd like to be treated, it doesn't get more basic than that. And that would be what I would impart, and that I do my very best to do now.
Well, I can't argue with that. Hey, Larry has these questions out, and I don't know how far I can go with this, but I'm going to keep it to the real question because I'm tempted to ask another question. But tell me about your first kiss or first date.
Oh,
you know what I want to ask, actually, but I'm not going to.
Okay. Was I worked in a convalescent home.
Don't want to go any further.
Working, washing dishes in this place, and hit on one of the candy stripers, and we had a relationship after that. So I guess that would be the answer to that question. And it lasted a few years. We had a daughter, and then that fell apart. So
and you don't. And how's your daughter doing?
She's great. She lives in Tennessee now with her husband. They have she has a stepdaughter, which would technically make her my step great granddaughter, I think. No, just yeah. That's how that would be. Yeah. So she lives in Tennessee. She's doing well. She works on hot tubs, maintaining and installing them. And yeah, she's my daughter from the first marriage. And I got married again in 1978. And we had a son, and I'm in constant touch with Nick. You've met Nick; he's been on the show, your Bryan's Radio Lunch Truck Show, and he's doing very well in his life now.
And, well, I'm going to have to ask, how did you meet your second wife?
I was working on alarm systems. I started. I lived in Escondido for a while, and I worked for an alarm company there, very badly, and then up in Rialto is where I met her. I worked at a place called Federal Alarm, and and she was one of the dispatchers who would send us out to service calls, and she was very much in demand, and I won, and so yeah, we got married and had a son, and we stayed married 43 years, and then that ended. So yeah, and that brings us to today. Right. I got my little doggy here, and that's just fine.
Yeah, and that your dog's name?
Lulu, Looloo.
And what kind of dog is it?
She's a Tibetan Spaniel, I think. She looks the most like that. I haven't had the DNA test done because they're too expensive. But she looks mostly like Tibetan Spaniel with possibly a little pug or Chihuahua. If she was around here, I'd pick her up and show you, but she's not around right now.
And is she a rescue dog?
Yes, I rescued her from the Camarillo County shelter. Those people are awesome. Please do that. If you're looking to get a dog or cat, these people are absolutely wonderful. Um, and being a senior and all the discounts and everything, it cost me a fraction what it cost for one of these rescue outfits. You know, good on those people, but they charge way too much to take a dog home, and this was $50.
Oh
And
wow.
Lulu has changed my life. There's another life-changing event because I was really having a hard time with depression and just a lot of struggles. And she's helped clear the way for me, and we have a great strong relationship. And I walk her every day, and I just love her so much.
So see, Lulu's filled a need.
Big time, yeah. I desperately needed a little companion around here, and she's she's a funny, goofy little dog. You know, she's just cutest little thing you ever saw. Lula, Lula, here she comes. Here she comes. Come on, come here, come here, come here, puppy. Come on, come on.
All right.
Come on, come on. There's my Lulu. There's my little girl.
Hi, Lulu.
Look, it's Bryan. Bryan's right there.
There you go. Oh, that was cute. That's cute. So let's get a little nerdy out now. If you had one piece of audio equipment to buy, what would that be?
I've already done that. I'm already there. I really have very few desires. Maybe pair of speakers. I have Bose that I've had for 40 years that I love. They're direct reflecting speakers and they fill up my house. And I really don't have a lot of desires that way. Um, no, I got a new turntable right after the divorce. I got a new cartridge for that turntable a couple of months ago. And I'm on a vinyl frenzy now. I don't know, frenzy's a little less strong. But I'm just revamping my whole record collection around having a bitchin' turntable. And everything else, honestly, I can't think of any. Some radio station stuff would be nice, you know, because I run the radio station, Carpinteria Valley Radio, out of my house, and I have an interview area over there where you do Bryan's Radio Lunch Truck. I could stand to upgrade quite a few things, some mixers, some microphones, and stuff like that, and a little soundproofing maybe. But components and stereo stuff, no, I'm a real happy guy right now.
So, tell us something about you that a quality you have or an aspect of yourself that we just don't realize.
I'm really a nice guy. Sometimes I don't come off that way, but I really have a lot of love, and I live solidly by the golden rule. And here, let me decline that. There's a call.
Did you just fade out there, Dennis?
No, somebody tried to call it. Said scam likely.
No.
So and you know what? I'm honest to a fault. I try to never lie, and if I owe you, I'll do everything in my power to repay you. If I owe you an apology, I will live it. So I'm an honest man. I really am, and I sleep good at night on that at least.
And you find that people might not realize that about you?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. You never know what people are thinking, you know? So the best thing is to just lay it out there and be that way and then let the chips fall, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go way back in your history. I think, you know, we see you as an adult, but as a kid, what were you like as a kid? Were you withdrawn? Were you social?
No, I was a wreck. I was very isolated. I had friends on the block, but I was kind of like the fringe element of it all. And friends were kind of a hard thing for me to make for most of my life. So what was the question again?
I mean, what were you like as a kid? Like a
Oh,
gregarious or
uh, somewhat lonely. overall happy. Like I said, I had a few friends that were tight in terms of what we enjoyed together, so we would do some things together. Yeah, I like to have fun like any other kid, you know. There were some struggles, like I said, within the family, uh, here and there. I had three sisters, and that was so it was kind of a circus around the house. But you know, like I said, try to be a nice kid. Um, and yeah, I don't know. That's no one never asked me that. I was a good kid. Ask my parents. Oh, you can. Um, but uh, but yeah, you know, I just wanted to, you know, I just wanted to be cool. And I never was, but I tried real hard. So my life as a kid was trying to be cool, and listening to a lot of music, and just trying to be normal like everyone else. And the pressure even back then was enormous for that, like it is for kids now. So you know, a wreck is not too far off because you had to constantly be on your toes. If you didn't know the latest things, you got made fun of. If you it didn't hang with the right kids, you got made fun of. You know, all the usual crap that kids have to go through in the schoolyard and whatnot. But overall, I was happy. I had a bike, I had a guitar. You know, I had a decent childhood. I don't have many complaints. Like I said, we lived in a nice house. We're always provided for, thanks to mom and dad, and it was all about how much injury we could keep from inflicting on ourselves as kids, me and my sisters.
Right on. If aliens came down from a different planet, a whole different solar system, they landed here on your patio, and they came out, and you had to give them advice about this planet, like stay, please leave, or destroy us. What would you tell them?
Take a good look and bring us. I'd ask them what they could do for us. It's like just take a look around objectively and see what you see, and then decide if you want to stay. And if you do, what the hell can we do? Because we apparently don't know. But I have a feeling they would do that, and they would knock on my door and say, "Well, we've done our survey. Bye."
So what you're saying, mankind's a charitable is a charity travel destination.
No, yeah, no, wrong. Yeah, I think they'd be rather shocked. It's like, wait, you have all of this and you're doing this? So
Yeah. All right. Hey, do you mind if this is put on public record, or do you want to keep this conversation private?
I don't mind at all.
All right. So you have said nothing that you feel embarrassed about.
No, not really at all.
Can I ask you questions, perhaps? I'm change your mind.
Too late.
Sorry. All right. And I guess I'm supposed to ask you, and I don't mind. How do you spell your name?
Uh, Dennis with two N's. Mitchell, Mitchell.
Well, there you go. Any last famous words, Dennis Mitchell?
No, I appreciate Larry Nimmer asking us to do this. I interviewed you a couple of weeks ago. It's wonderful what he's doing. And what I've seen of the finished products are a wonderful reflection of what a fantastic place Carpinteria is. So thank you, Larry, and thank you, Bryan, for doing this.
And one last question about Carpinteria is what is it about this town? Because I understand, how can you put into words we obviously have the views and the ocean and the mountains, but there's something to it. What would you say is the unseen draw of this city?
The people, really, the people. I never came to a place in my life before. When I first came here in 2014 for a gig I was hired to do, and I just couldn't believe that everybody was smiling. It was just such a mellow, relaxed atmosphere with a lot of people with smiles on their faces. And I knew immediately deep down, I mean, the engine started turning right then as far as trying to get to be here all the time. And then in subsequent visits, it would just be reinforced how kind the people were, how helpful the people are, and how pleasant it is to be around them and talk to them. And they're not obnoxious. They won't just, it's not, Oklahoma City, they'll just stop you on the street and demand to talk to you and have some of your time, whether you know these people or not. It's like Carpinteria. they're not obnoxious. They're very easygoing, very easy to talk to. Like I said, and I think it's really awesome the way the town hates it if you tell people about Carpinteria, because then people will come here. And
Isn't Carpinteria next to Anchorage, Alaska?
oh, it's the worst in the winters.
Yeah.
No, no, yeah. So yeah, that's just pride right there. That's just pride. Like, yeah, please, can we just have our little place to ourselves?
Right.
And
Right.
I dig that out of there, and I understand that fully, especially having lived here.
Okay, so we're going to end this conversation. Is there anything you want to say to the people of Carpinteria?
Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for listening to the radio station. And I strive to be one of you. I don't deserve it, but I'm working hard to be a part of this town.
You are. Don't worry about it. You're a big part. So, you know what? That's it. Thank you, Larry Nimmer. I want to thank him also for doing the whole series. Carpinteria has a lot of unsung, interesting people, a lot of unsung heroes in a lot of ways. It is what it is. It's a wonderful place to live, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I've been offered to live other places, and still, we're not moving.
That's the thing. If I had to leave for some reason, I don't know where I'd go.
Right.
There is nowhere else really but here for me.
Yeah. And by the way, nobody feels sorry for us.
No, no, we cannot plead sympathy to anyone. No.
No. All right. Well, I think that's it. I'm going to sign off. I guess that's the process with this. Thank you, Dennis. That was a blast and a half. You answered the questions eloquently with a sense of humor and reflection, and it's always appreciated.
Thank you very much, Bryan. Same back at you.
All right. And thank you, Larry, for this opportunity. All right. Goodbye, Dennis.
Goodbye.